Well, since the compensatory counter-racist code applies to everybody on the planet, in different places you have different constitutions. I understand there are a lot of places that don't even have a constitution. So therefore, that's all very selective, meaning wherever you happen to be on the planet, you find out what the laws are that govern whatever your behavior is supposed to be, what the prison rules are under the system of white supremacy in that particular place. Before you do anything, you better find out what the laws are, what the driving laws are. You drive on the left side or the right side or whatever. And then you start acting accordingly and go as best you can to the prison masters, which are the white supremacists, and just like you do in every other area of activity or in any area of activity as a prisoner of war, you depend on your prison masters as long as you're a prisoner. And I like to use the movie here again, the movie Shawshank Redemption, as a sort of a learning guide, you might say, for how you conduct yourself in a prison, using the principal character in the movie, character played by, I forgot the person's name, but he played the part of a prisoner that was incorrectly convicted, like non-white people throughout the planet have been incorrectly convicted by being people of color, because that's what the white supremacists did. They said, we're going to dominate people of color because they're the incorrect color. They are the color of creatures that are supposed to be dominated and mistreated because of they have color in their skin. Dominated and mistreated by whom? By people that don't have color in their skin, presumably people who are what you call non-color and are white people. And that's how the prison system was set up in the beginning. And that's a complete system. That system played out, and all non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, beige, tan, came under the system of white supremacy, which is a prison system. So you're always beholden to the laws of that system, whatever those laws happen to be. And the white supremacists make up laws all the time. They make them up by the minute sometimes, or right off the top of their heads. Why? Because prison masters can do that. So you just work your way the best way you can in the use of the law. And if they say, well, you can use this law to do this and use that, well, look at it and see if you can get any benefit at all from it. Because you have to go along with it until you're what? No longer a prisoner. Like I obey the laws right now of just being able to have a book. The white supremacists, like in the movie Shawshank, the crooked warden, which is what a white supremacist is, they're crooks. They are not law-abiding, except the laws of white supremacy. They don't believe in justice. Justice is not about, white supremacy is not about justice. So the white supremacists have a prison system based on non-justice. So therefore, you're trying to change that prison system by making the prison system a non-prison system, by eliminating that prison system altogether, like Andy Dufresne did in Shawshank Redemption. He got access to the library, and then he asked for the library to be expanded. Well, in a way of speaking, I've done the same thing. When I came into the world, I found out that this part of the prison system of white supremacy, they allow me to read books. At one time, I couldn't read books, but they allowed me to read books at a certain time. So by the time I came along, I heard that the black people that came before me were not allowed to read. Then I was told that I was allowed to read. Then I was told that I was allowed to write. And so I write and I publish. And I talk against the system of racism. Why? Because the white supremacists allow me to. At any time, they can come around and say, you cannot speak against racism anymore. Speaking against racism is against the law that I make, because I make the laws here in my prison. So you can no longer, Neely Fuller, talk against racism. Now that means I have to not talk against racism until I can find a way to fight against racism by not talking against racism. I just have to find a way. That's the compensatory way. If you can't do one thing, you do another. That's why you have that incorporated in the title of the book, a compensatory counter-racist code. Compensatory means what? Making up for what you don't have. So if you don't have the privilege or the right to talk against racism, you compensate by trying to find another way to undermine racism, because that's what we're supposed to be doing all the time. Why? Because it never should have existed in the first place. This construct called racism, which is designed to mistreat people based on color. That's all it is. Dominate and mistreat people based on color. And that was a long-winded answer to the question. But basically, it's you just do the best with what you have.
Yes, sir.
They let you have a limited number of things, but you use that limited number of things as best you can against the force that is against you, and not against you just as a person, but against the thing you're supposed to be fighting for.
Yes, sir.
And that is what? Justice.